What is going on, guys? Tiger back in another video. So in this video, I actually want to do a quick recap about my application to investment banks in 2020. First of all, I want to share the result of my application. I've applied to 8 out of the 9 bulge bracket banks, both in London and in Hong Kong this time. I did not apply to Frankfurt again because I actually wanted to work at a different place. Experience a different environment. That's why. And at the end, I received 4 assessment centers in total, 1 in London, 3 in Hong Kong, and I received 2 offers at the end. And I've taken 1 offer from the global markets department of a bulge bracket bank in Hong Kong, which I will start in 2021. So that's the result. I've applied both actually to IB and to GM, sales and trading, and I've actually been invited to assessment centers for both. All right, so what are the learnings actually? So everyone knows, this is no secret, the investment bank recruiting process is a marathon. You start very early and there's different stages and you have to pass each stage, and at the end you arrive at the assessment center or the super day. If you pass that, you get the offer. So let me give you an overview of the whole process. First, we start with the online application. Online application, this is the standard stuff. You fill in your CV, you fill in your info, you fill in your grades, your schools, etc. And after you fill that in most banks, you will get invited to an online assessment. So in this assessment, they will test your numeric abilities, they'll test your verbal reasoning skills, sometimes induction skills, kind of similar to an IQ test, I would say. I think if you're reasonably smart, this shouldn't be too difficult for you. Apart from really, really technical roles, then you really have to be a math genius. Some tests can get really hard. Right, so once you score reasonably well on the test, you will be invited to the next stage, which is generally a higher view interview. Higher view is essentially an online interviewing software which has some sort of algorithm to analyze like your facial expression, your talking pace, and your background. There's so many different dimensions. It's a black box, in fact. Nobody knows what exactly they're testing for. Banks aren't exactly transparent about these. Basically, you're given a set of predefined questions and you're asked to record a response to these questions. Usually you're given a time to prepare, like 30 seconds or to a minute, and you have 2 minutes to respond. Yeah, so that's the second stage. Once you performed well on the higher view, you may be invited, depending on the bank. Sometimes you get invited to the super day directly. Sometimes there's another stage. This is more common. There's another interim stage, which is phone screening. So you get back-to-back phone interviews by the bankers. And once you pass that, you get invited to the super day. So the super day, again, it's like sometimes half a day, sometimes an entire day, and there are different activities that you have to perform. For example, you obviously do a lot of back-to-back interviews. Sometimes you also perform a task together with other candidates, and sometimes you play like a trading game. Sometimes they ask you to do the numeric test on site, just to check if you've not cheated in the online one, because they don't have a mechanism to check that. Yeah, and generally they should be able to extend the offer relatively quickly. If you perform well, you should hear back in like a day, sometimes on the same day, sometimes within the next 1 to 2 days, you'll hear back. So that's kind of the overall process. So I think some struggles that I went through this year was that I received multiple offers and I had to kind of time it. I received the first offer from one bank, and then I have to think about do I want to take this offer, as I still have interviews lined up. So but what I've learned is that you can actually maneuver a little bit. You can tell, on one hand, you can try to postpone the offer, the time of response to the offer. So you can say to the bank that you need more time to think about it, which is also being honest, right? And on the other hand, you can request for the other banks, you can request to say that you have an exploding offer, you want an expedited process. So with an expedited process, they may be able to shift your interviews to an earlier point in time, so you can actually get the result in a timely manner. So that's something I learned. And overall, I would say it's certainly rewarding after having received the offer at the end. But on the other hand, it's also been a lot of hassle. So I think what would have been helpful, I mean, depending on what your goals are, to maybe really optimize your interviews for one or two banks could be interesting to do. And let me think about it. What else are there? Yeah, so I think one of the most helpful things you can do is actually, talking to people, talking to friends, talking to classmates who have been through the same process, and then you can know exactly what they have in each part of the process. And of course, reaching out to, by leveraging your alumni network to reach out to people that are working in the banks to learn more about the culture. So during the hire reviews, you can, name drop. During the interviews, you can name drop. That's always helpful when you know something internally and it shows that you're passionate about the firm. You're actively trying to learn more about it. And then on the technical side, I would say most of the interviews are not very technical. Although for sales and trading, what is interesting is that there has been more and more computer science related questions. As I study a degree which combines management and computer science, I usually get tested on my technical knowledge. So sometimes I get questions on algorithms, I get questions on the big O notation. So if you're not prepared for that, it can be tough. And also in one higher view, I actually got 2 coding questions, but luckily my coding abilities were still up to date, and I was able to solve them relatively with ease. So with that being said, I think if you're applying to global markets, brushing up your computer science skills is definitely important. I actually didn't get too many financial knowledge related questions. I think it depends based on the region, based on the bank. They would have different expectations of your technical knowledge. But on the other hand, there's some assessment centers that I didn't pass or I didn't receive the offer because my knowledge was not enough. So how to allocate your time, this is something you can think about. But in general, I think there are only so many things to prepare for. And if you're able to gain an overview of what sort of things are in the process, and you prepare exactly for these processes, and also by talking to people, getting as much intel as possible beforehand, then you can prepare for these in a very short period of time. Yeah, so that's kind of a wrap up of 2020. I look forward to my internship in 2021. Hopefully it's gonna be on site, even though the chances are slim. I still really hope that the vaccines distribute quickly and people act responsibly. I think a very important part of these internships, of course, you want to get to know the people, see if you like the work. But on the other hand, you also want to make sure you enjoy living at a city where you may be working in the next few years. So in my case, I've never lived in Hong Kong. I don't know how the city's like. So it's my hope to also get to know the city. if the circumstances allow that. Yeah. All right, with that being said, that wraps up our video today. Thank you for watching. So comment, like, subscribe if you like my content, and if you want something specific being addressed in the video, also feel free to just write in the comment section, and I'll have a look. All right, then see you later, guys.